Hi, I'm back with another chapter of the Infinity Ring series, Book 4, Curse of the Ancients. Chapter 11, What Sarah Saw. This is a very short chapter, so I'm going to do my best to upload another chapter tomorrow. This is a very short chapter. Sarah is sucked right back into her memory of the cataclysm. She sees herself in the small motorized emergency raft again, speeding through intersection after intersection, and she's screaming, begging for all of it to stop. The fires, the flooding, the acid rain pouring down from above, the earth's violent shaking. Sarah zips past several miles of absolute destruction until she's out of the city and turns into her childhood street. She lets off the gas as she nears her house, then dives overboard and swim walks her way up to the flooded driveway. When she reaches a trembling hand out from the doorknob, she half expects to black out or be whisked away, like every other time she's tried to access her memory of the cataclysm. But this time she remains present. She watches herself slowly turn the knob, push open the door, creep outside the only home she's ever known. "Uncle Diego," she calls out. No answer. Sarah moves to the living room, Sarah moves to the living room, leaving the front door wide open behind her. The wood floors are covered in 2 feet of grayish water. Many of her uncle's possessions are submerged or floating randomly. Books, documents, frames, photos, candles, old newspaper and magazines, and vases. Most of the furniture is overturned. A leg is missing from the dining room table. The TV is knocked over and punctured. The mirror below the clock is shattered, hanging askew. It looks like someone has ransacked the place looking for something, but what? The kitchen is even worse. The fridge is wide open and mostly cleaned out, its doors ripped from its hinges. The cupboards are full of broken plates and glasses. Sarah stops cold when she sees an empty wooden knife block. If it's empty, that means, are there knives in it? Nope. The utensil drawer is still full of forks and spoons, but the knives are all gone. Where are the knives? "Uncle Diego," she calls out again. Nothing. Sarah sloshes out of the kitchen, but when she rounds the corner, she lets out a short scream. There, frozen on the stairs, as a rail-thin man wearing her uncle's raincoat. Long, unkempt hair and shaggy beard, bugged eyes. The man looks half dead already. Sarah's heart is beating inside her throat as she says, "Who are you?" Instead of answering, the man leaps down the rest of the stairs, splashes his way across the living room. "Stop!" Sarah shouts, but he's already out the door. She bounds up the waterlogged stairs, her whole body now wired with fear. What if something happened to her uncle? She pushes open her own bedroom door first. A few items are scattered around the room, but otherwise, it's the way she left it. She continues to her uncle's bedroom door and reaches for the doorknob, preparing herself for what she might find. She slowly pushes open the door and looks around. There's an unfamiliar sleeping bag in the middle of the room, trash piled in the far corner, but nothing else out of the ordinary. The man she's just seen had most living been around here, but for how long? And where was her uncle? That's when it hit Sarah. She has to go and see about the barn. The rushing water is up to Sarah's waist as she steps up to the front door of the barn. She has to keep a wide stance and lean against the current to keep from getting swept away. Before she pulls open the heavy door, she flashes back to all the remnants she had over the years. Many of those which involve this very barn. She's always known it's important, but she's afraid to find out why. Sarah forces herself to pull open the door, and as it's halfway open, she peeks her head inside and see a body floating face up in the water. She immediately falls to her knees, sobbing. It's her Uncle Diego. The only family she's ever known. His face strangely contorted, eyes wide open. She covers her own face and then slaps down at the water and stands back up. Behind her uncle, she spots 4 more bodies, all floating face down. She moves towards them, hiccuping and gasping for breath, tears streaming down her face. Her right hand shakes as she reaches out for the dead man's cold arm, turns over his body. It's a face she's never seen before, but at the same time, it's oddly familiar. She turns over a dead woman next to him, who evokes the same strange feeling. She cannot pinpoint the familiarity, but it's incredibly powerful. The third and fourth bodies make her fall to her knees, slapping the water and shouting, "No, please!"
No, please!
Dak's parents. She buries her face in her hands and cries so hard that strange animal sounds are escaping from her throat and she can barely breathe. And then a horrific thought occurs to her and she looks up at the first 2 bodies again. She stares at their faces, then she looks at Dak's parents again and back at her uncle, and the 2 unknown faces are oddly familiar. Oddly like her own face.
On page 104.
She whispers, moving back and forth towards the first man again, studying his eyes and mouth. No!
No, sir.
She reaches into his back pocket for his wallet, then pulls out his ID and reads the name. Daniel Frost.
Daniel Frost.
Her father. She stares down at the man without crying or breathing, and she looks at the woman, her mother. Then she angles her own face up at the ceiling and screams so piercingly loud her ears continue ringing long after she closes her mouth. The parents she's never known have come back to her, and now they're dead. Sarah rips at her own hair and forces her head underwater, right cheek pressed up against the muddy ground. She stays like this until her lungs burn and her thoughts grow thin and disappear, and she no longer can stand the pain in her chest. Still, she refuses to let herself up, and the memory slips away, and she is lost. Wow. So that's a very powerful chapter. The next chapter is chapter 12, 1,000 years later.
Okay, wow. Can we please talk to Anna right now, please? And I will flip the camera. Wait a minute.
I hope you enjoyed chapter 11 of The Curse of the Ancients, Infinity Ring, book 4. We're getting close to the end. That's all we got.
I will flip this camera around.
So, thanks to our special visitor today.
Thanks for watching. Hope you like, comment, subscribe, and click on the bell for notification. Hope YouTubers, bye!
Bye!